It started on a quiet Sunday morning. I had just settled into my new home, a modest house in a suburban neighborhood where I thought peace and quiet would finally be part of my life. After years of chasing fugitives across state lines as a U.S. Marshal, I was ready for calm. What I wasn't ready for was Karen. She introduced herself the second day I moved in. Mid-50s, perfectly styled hair, oversized sunglasses, and a voice that carried across the street like a bullhorn. "We have standards in this neighborhood," she declared, pointing at my American flag hanging on the porch. "You'll need to clear decorations with the HOA first." I smiled politely, not wanting to start trouble. "Thanks for letting me know," I said, though I knew full well I hadn't seen a single official HOA document in my purchase papers. But Karen had that smug air of someone who invented the rules she lived by, whether they were real or not. The harassment started small: violation notices, taped to my door, nasty notes about my car being too official looking, and even complaints about my dog barking. I ignored them. After all, I had bigger things to worry about. But ignoring Karen was like throwing gasoline on a fire. One afternoon, as I was repairing a fence in my backyard, I overheard her yelling on the phone. "If he won't listen, I'll make him listen. I've got my own officers." Her words sent a chill through me, not because I feared her, but because I knew what desperate people were capable of when their ego was bruised. 2 nights later, it happened. Around 9 p.m., I heard pounding on my front door. I opened it to find 3 men in mismatched uniforms. They wore black tactical vests with HOA Police stitched on in crooked letters, toy-looking badges clipped to their belts, and cheap radios on their shoulders. Behind them, a beat-up SUV idled in my driveway, flashing a red-blue party light suction cup to the roof. "Step outside," the tallest one barked. "You're under arrest for repeated HOA violations and non-compliance with community standards." I stared at them, stunned by their audacity. "And who exactly are you?" "We're the HOA Police," another sneered. "You've ignored citations. We're here to take you into custody." For a moment, I wanted to laugh. But then I saw Karen herself standing at the end of the driveway, arms folded, smirk plastered across her face like she'd already won. That's when I realized this wasn't just a prank, it was her way of forcing me out of the neighborhood. Calmly, I said, "All right, give me a second to grab my ID." I stepped back inside, leaving the door half open. When I returned, I wasn't holding a driver's license. I held up my badge, shiny, real, unmistakable. U.S. Marshal. The fake cops froze instantly. Their fake bravado melted like snow in the sun. I let the silence hang heavy before I spoke. Impersonating law enforcement is a federal crime. Attempted unlawful arrest. That's another. You boys really want to see how deep this hole goes. The color drained from their faces. One stammered, "We were just following orders from the HOA president." I glanced at Karen. She took a step back, but I pointed directly at her. "You organized this. That makes you complicit." I called the local police, and within minutes real cruisers pulled up. The contrast was striking: professional uniforms against dollar store cosplay. Neighbors gathered, whispering, filming with their phones. The truth was out in the open. Karen tried to spin her way out. It was just a misunderstanding. I was trying to enforce community rules. But the officers weren't buying it. They cuffed the fake cops on the spot for impersonation and attempted kidnapping. Karen herself was detained for conspiracy. In the days that followed, the neighborhood buzzed. People who had once been silent about Karen's bullying came forward with stories, threats, intimidation, fake fines she had pocketed. She'd been running her own little dictatorship, and no one had dared to challenge her, until now. The HOA quickly dissolved, stripped of its power once her corruption was exposed. Neighbors thanked me for standing up, some even admitting they'd been afraid to. I wasn't looking for gratitude, I just wanted to live in peace. But in that moment, I realized something: people like Karen thrive on fear and silence. For me, this wasn't just about exposing her. It was about showing the neighborhood that you don't need a badge to stand against bullies, but when you do have one, it's your duty to protect others. That night, as I sat on my porch watching the sun dip below the horizon, I thought about the irony. Karen had sent fake cops to intimidate me. But instead of breaking me, she ended up exposing herself. And that's the lesson I want anyone to take away from this: entitlement and abuse of power will always collapse when confronted with truth and courage. No matter how loud the bully shouts, no matter how real their costume looks, justice is louder. Because in the end, power isn't about control. It's about integrity. And the moment you choose to stand firm, you strip the bully of the only weapon they ever had, fear.